Hello guys, Oroth here and a warm welcome back to my channel. I'm finally back home. I've actually been to Los Angeles where I visited Blizzard's headquarters in Irvine, California. What I have to say is that it has been a very exciting adventure. I have a lot of exciting news that I will release on this channel soon, but I'm not allowed to tell you too much yet. But I'm gonna show you behind the scenes footage. I'm gonna talk about all of the exciting updates coming out soon. And yeah, so stay tuned so that you don't miss anything important. I also want to take this opportunity to thank everyone who's supporting me and who watches my channel. I really enjoy to do this and I'm so grateful for all of the nice comments. And yeah, I just wanted to give all of you a big shout out that you are amazing. And I also wanted to tell you that I'm doing the best that I can to reply to everyone who writes to me. As the channel grows, I get many more messages every day on Discord and in-game and in other forums as well, with questions and a lot of different things. I'm trying to answer as much as I can, but it's kind of time consuming. I'm doing my best, but if I'm not responding to you, please don't take it personal, because yeah, I do as much as I can. And just to provide a little bit of extra service for some people, I have created a membership feature to my channel. When you are a member of my channel, you will be invited to a special Discord server, and in that Discord server, I will always answer any type of questions you might have, so you will have the top priority for me. But of course, even if you're not a member, I'm still trying to respond to as many messages as I can, but time is of the essence, and yeah, it's not easy when you get so many DMs every day. With that being said, today's video is about the Blood Knight. And the Blood Knight has been fairly weak for quite some time, and I have tried it out many times to try to find some new interesting builds, but I've always been kind of disappointed. But now I have to say that I've found something new that I really enjoy, and I hope that you will enjoy it too. So in this video I'm going to show to you a dungeon build, and I also going to show some alterations you can use for terror rifts and open world farming and abyssal verge farming, etc. Let's dive straight into it and start by looking at the dungeon build. So first we're going to take a look at the skills, and for primary attack I use Shadow's Edge. In the first skill slot I use Shroud of Night. In the second skill slot I use Umbral Lance. In the third skill slot I use Spear Flurry, and in the fourth and final skill slot I use Mephitic Cloud. For set pieces I use 4 pieces of V2 for extra beneficial effect duration and extra attack speed, and I also use 4 pieces of Grace for extra damage output. Let's continue and take a look at the essences. In the helmet slot I use a Brace of Fangs. And what it says is that Mephitic Cloud now engulfs a single enemy in toxic fumes, causing them to take increasing continual damage. The toxic fumes also explode, dealing damage to nearby enemies whenever the effect expires or when the target dies. So when I try this skill out, it looks like this. It's a single target, and then I just let go, and you can see that I will apply this poison effect there, toxic fumes. One reason why I also picked this essence is because the cooldown is quite low, and for this build we want to have low cooldowns, and I'm gonna explain to you why very soon. In the chest slot I use Cracked Spirit, and what it says is that Shroud of Night now grants you Echoing Nightmare, causing some of your skills to conjure a shadowy apparition to duplicate the skill cast after a short delay. Additionally, you gain increased movement speed, stacking with each skill used. I would say that this essence is quite similar to the wizard helmet called Terminus Facade, because what this will do is that it will increase our movement speed a lot. And now when I use Shroud of Night and then I use Mephitic Cloud, you can see that I will have this shadowy apparition that will also cast it. And now you can see on the target that there will actually be 2 toxic fumes on it, thanks to this chest piece. Let's continue and take a look at the shoulder slot, and here I use Hunter's Whirl, which is the newest shoulder essence, and what it says is that Umbral Lance cooldown is reduced by 0.32 seconds for each enemy hit within 6 seconds. up to a maximum of 1.6 seconds. I use the shoulder because I want to reduce the cooldown of Umbral Lance, of course. It's decent for this build, for sure. It's a pity that this effect can only happen once every 6 seconds. A lot of similar essences doesn't work that way. If it would work like the other essences, I mean that it wouldn't have an internal cooldown, this would actually be very, very strong, and it's a pity that they didn't design the shoulder that way instead. But still, this shoulder makes the cut for this build, and when we look at the other Umbral Lance essences later on here, you will understand why. In the shoulder slot, I use Excessive Exuberance, and what it says is that Spear Flurry is now a forward dash that damages all enemies along your path. Using other skills instantly refreshes one charge. And yes, this is good for several reasons. First of all, it deals quite a lot of damage because I can use it a lot. It adds mobility, and of course it also syncs extremely well with the chest piece. So if you remember when I use Mephitic Cloud, you can see that thanks to the chest piece I have 2 dot effects on the target. But the same goes for when I use these dashes. You can see that there is also shadowy apparition that will dash together with me. And let's move on and take a look at the first main hand slot, which is called First Bloodwalker. And what it says is that when Umbral Lance hits the same enemy 3 times within 3 seconds, it deals some extra damage. Maybe it's more interesting than to take a look at the first offhand, which is called Lost Companions. And what that says is that Umbral Lance now throws several spears in all directions that return to you, damaging enemies in their path. So this is a lot like the original Lightning Nova skill for the wizards. So whenever I use Umbral Lance, you will see these daggers that fly out in a circle around me, and then they return, and they will of course deal damage to all the enemies they pass through. Also pay close attention now. Whenever I use Umbral Lance, the cooldown will go down as soon as I hit a target, thanks to the shoulder, and that's why the shoulder is so good. And remember that whenever I use a skill, I will also refresh 1 charge of the Spear Flurry. This means that I can actually deal tons of burst damage with this build. In the second mainland slot, I use Blotnif. I don't know if it's pronounced correctly, but what it says is that Umbral Lance deals up to 76% increased damage the further away you are from the target. When I'm fighting a boss, I'm usually quite close because I want to hit it with the Spear Flurries, but in open areas where I have to kill a lot of monsters, this main hand is very, very strong for the Umbral Lance. When I hit a target far away, we can see that I will deal tons of damage to it. What is also important to mention here is that thanks to the chest piece, I also throw 2 Umbral Lances every time I use the skill. So if you look carefully now, I also have a shadow apparition. So when we summarize this build, we will see that all of the skills actually works very well with this chest. Finally, I also have Hanging Chalice in the second offhand slot. And what it says is that after Shadow's Edge hits an enemy, 2 blades ricochet out randomly, targeting nearby enemies and dealing damage to them. So whenever I use Shadow's Edge, you can see now that there will be other daggers that are ricocheting off the target behind it there. This is the optimal choice if I want to add more AoE damage, which works fine for dungeons. I could go for more single target damage, and in that case I would switch this out for Mercy's Plight. But for dungeons in general, both works fine, but I prefer Hanging Chalice after trying all of them out. So we're gonna take a look at the legendary gems soon, but let me just explain to you the purpose of this build. What we want to do is that we want to activate Shroud of Night, and then we're gonna just use the skills in fast successions. We will have maximum movement speed all the time. We can move very fast through the dungeons thanks to a lot of dashes. And yeah, it's overall just a very fun and cool and interactive build to play. What we can also say about this is that there is a huge potential for the future, because thanks to this chest, we will always have high mobility, and whenever we have new skills that have low cooldowns that works with the chest piece, this build might become even stronger. That's why I was hoping for this shoulder slot, for example, to not have a 6-second cooldown, because then you could actually spam the skills a little bit more. And if we compare this to, for example, a wizard build that can also utilize a lot of spamming, this build is very similar, and it will outperform most other builds when you run dungeons. But if we compare it with my recently released wizard build, the wizard has even longer dashes, it has even more spam capabilities. So after the first initial burst, I would probably say that I perform a little bit better with the wizard, but for a blood knight this is still a very strong build, and when I play this in dungeons I managed to outpace most of my teammates, which will enable me to deal the most damage. Let us of course also take a look at the legendary gems I'm using. I'm using Blood-Soaked Jade for extra damage, Rolling Consequence for critical hit chance, Bottled Hope for some extra damage, Colossus Engine for extra damage, and this works very well because most of the damage here is skill damage. I also use Spectre Glass, Pain Clasp, Fervent Fang, and Morn Skull. And of course, if you don't have all of these gems, you can swap in Berserker's Eye, you can maybe swap in the new 1-star gem that is coming out. There are of course many different options here. Feel free to experiment. This is just an example of something that works well. We should of course also take a look at the Paragon. I'm using the Harbinger category, and I use Fate, Blur, Ambush, Honed Steel, and Quickstep. Quickstep will decrease the cooldown of the dash a little bit. It doesn't really do a lot for this build. The stars of this build is of course Ambush, that will give me a lot of damage, and thanks to Honed Steel it will also give me critical hit chance. Let us of course try out the build here at the dummy just to see how it performs. So let's just attack it for a little bit and see what happens. And you can see that the damage goes up quite a lot. It's mostly high burst, and in dungeons that will be enough to kill most monsters and most bosses in quite quick succession. The issue with the build is that it starts to die off a little bit after some time, and the main issue here is that the shoulder is not as strong as it could have been. I hope that they actually buff this shoulder, because if they do, this build will be one of the strongest for PvE content in the game, and I think that the Blood Knight deserves it after a long time of quite stale gameplay and nothing really new, in my opinion, that works well. Now it's time to of course also showcase this build in a dungeon, so let's go and look at some gameplay. So here we are running solo in Cavern of Echoes, and I just wanted to do this run to just showcase the damage and the mobility of this build. When we're doing this solo, we will not maybe be able to kill the bosses in one phase, but at least almost. But I think that this is just a nice way to showcase that the damage will be high enough, you will be fast enough, and yeah, it just works very well overall. What you want to do when you enter a dungeon is that you want to always activate Shroud of Night as fast as possible, and then you can use 3 dashes just to get up to maximum movement speed as soon as possible. And then when you engage the enemies, you will do so by using Umbral Lance and Mephitic Cloud, and by doing so you will also recharge your dashes thanks to the pants. And as you can see there, we actually managed to kill off this boss in the first phase without having to do the second phase, so the damage output is also very good with this build. Here you can just run as fast as possible to this area here where we have to kill off the enemies. Often, I've talked about it before, the most important thing in dungeons is to run from point A to B as fast as possible, and then you just need enough damage to kill off the monsters fast enough. And now we're doing this run solo, and yeah, otherwise these guys would have been melted already if I had my teammates with me. And yes, let's take some stuns here before we get going again. It's gonna be interesting to see if we manage to one-phase the last boss solo here in Inferno 6 in the challenge dungeon. My guess is that we will struggle a little bit by doing so, but we will probably almost make it. So let's see how it goes here. And here I just want to spam the primary attack and wait for my skills to get ready. And then I activate Shroud of Night just before the boss can take damage, so that I have the Colossus engine buff up as long as possible. And what we can see here is that we deal immense burst in the first seconds, but then we drop off a little bit, and that's why we didn't manage to kill the boss in one phase solo. But of course this would not have been an issue in a team situation where our teammates would also deal damage, and then our burst will be enough to kill the boss in almost all situations. So I think we can conclude that the build is very strong for sure. When I farm in open world or terror rifts or abyssal verge, I switch out the helmet for Horns of the Hex and equip Siphon Blood instead of Mephitic Cloud, and I also exchange Spectre Glass for Viper's Bite. The reason for this is because I want to have an AoE effect to ensure I deal damage to every monster that I pass, and I also equip Viper's Bite because that will be enough to kill any mob. So as soon as I just touch a mob, I can just keep running without having to stay around to kill everything off. And if you see now on the minimap, you can see there that the yellow elite was also dying after a few seconds. And I can just keep running with very high speed and a lot of dashes, and it works very well. So it's very simple to alter between dungeons and open world farming using this archetype. And yeah, I hope that you also enjoy to play this build if you try it out. And I think that's enough for today. As I've said in the beginning of this video, there will be a lot of very exciting contents coming up. I have been at the Blizzard headquarters and I have met a lot of other content creators and a lot of developers, and I've had very interesting discussions and also received a lot of insights regarding the upcoming changes for Diablo Immortal. And let me tell you, there are some huge and big changes coming up. Until next time, I of course want to wish you a very nice day or a very nice evening wherever you are. Please subscribe to my channel if you haven't done so already. And to all of my clan members in Nyx, I would also like to say Voruk Nyx, Sholak Sol. So, bye bye!